Just in time, I think. Live video bekijken. There we are. Here we go. And then we go to Zoom.
There we are.
In time.
I just love this technology.
One moment. That sound is not what we want. Live video, okay? Otherwise, we will get.
But we are live now already.
So, welcome everybody, but especially, of course, our dear friends Knut Arild Hanstad. Welcome to this Facebook Live from Conscious World Agents.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we are so delighted to have you as a guest speaker. So let me first introduce you a little bit to the audience, and then Claudia will also say something about you because she knows you already a little bit longer than I do. But first of all, Knut, you're a writer, you're a mentor, you're a thought leader. You're thinking about the new renaissance, the things that we need to change on this planet, our behavior, more in a global world and make it more sustainable. We're going to talk about that a little bit deeper, but also about the picture behind you, the beautiful picture about Italy and the project that you're in. Of course, you're a public speaker. And that's where I met you for the first time, in Oslo. You were there for as a public speaker together with Claudia and several others. And the first time we had a conversation, within 5 minutes there was the click, and we had about all kind of consciousness and spirituality and these kind of things, the new renaissance. So it's always nice to have you here and also to have a nice conversation with you. It's always going to somewhere. It's always interesting to have a nice conversation with you. So I really, really appreciate that you took your time and to be here. Mm-hmm. Do you want to add something, Claudia?
Yeah, I would like to add, of course, first of all, very, very, very warm welcome to you, Knut, and also to the people that are watching us and who will be watching later. They might have not watched us before. There might be people who join us via Knut himself or via other resources. So we are Conscious World Agents. My name is Claudia van Zuiden.
And my name is Arturo Massaro.
And together we are the founders of Conscious World Agents. And we really believe that by raising our level of consciousness, by taking personal leaderships in our lives, whatever we do, whatever we think, and to create a community of like-minded people, we can make fantastic changes in the world that the world is needing so much. And therefore, we invited Knut to speak a little bit about what he's doing in his life to create quite a similar, what would I say, a viewpoint of life, or you know, a goal or a dream. And yeah, we would love to hear, Knut, what your vision is about. So it'd be lovely if you could do that.
Yeah, so maybe it's nice for people who don't know you. Can you tell, we told a little bit about you, but can you tell a little bit about your own life, yourself? So where you're coming from, where you are right now, and everything in between.
You know, that's a very relevant question, because, you know, I'm a nomad, you know, so originally I'm Norwegian, but lately, you know, for many years now, I've been a nomad. I've been penning between Norway, Finland, Italy, and now Portugal. Currently, I live in Portugal. I was intended to be at the place you can see behind me in Italy, but because of the situation, you know, you have to take everything, you know, in the moment and to go with the flow.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the countryside, and very small village. So I know about this. What is it? Because I felt that the environment for me was too narrow somehow. I felt it. I always felt it, and I was very lonely as a child. So. And the classical, that is a topic in itself, of course, the eldest son and his father. It was not that very easy. So I was a rebel. I had to be a rebel. And that has learned me a lot now lately, as an entrepreneur and in my own business and in my own thinking, because I do understand how important it is now to be independent in our thinking. That's why we talk a lot about, what is the infrastructure? What is the foundation for how we react and how we behave? What is our world of the view on the world? How do we look at nature? And for me, when we talk more about that maybe, but we talk about the new Renaissance. I started to work on this very early, but the new Renaissance is global, and several authors, they have been writing about this now. And so, but as I say, the new Renaissance is not just European or, it's not limited by anything. It has to be, as I see it, to be global. It's a universal awakening. It's like the whole humanity needs to reconnect with something we have forgotten, and that is Renaissance's rebirth. We have lost something, and the big question of what have we lost? And what do we need to reconnect with? I can talk more about that because this is really, I really feel this is both challenging. It's very provoking for people who are used to feel safe, feel secure. They choose the comfortable life. I said, no, the new security is to be safe within insecurity. That is the new safety. It's not stable and predictable. It is to go with the flow and to be able to meet whatsoever comes up. And now in the pandemic, of course, we have experienced that to an extreme, degree.
Nice.
You're first.
Yeah, okay. No. Well, what I really like about this this story is, Knut, is people need to take responsibility for their own small environment. And if everybody will do this, we have a global situation that can change the situation that we're in right now, but also where we were in 2 or 3 years ago, 10 years ago. And how do you look at taking responsibility of your own life in this case?
Yeah, I have considered and contemplated a lot on that. Because I saw, one of the consequences of a hierarchical structure and competition is that we are separated from each other. So I think that, again, I come back again to this power of numbers, that when we do understand that every one of us, we are unique, really unique, we are genuine, living individuals together in a society, in a community. And that's what I call the new Renaissance being is a collective individualist. And with that I mean, you know your passion and purpose within the whole, not just as an individual, but you put your own unique skills and competences into what is serving the whole and the all. And that's why, because we are living in the global village, we can't just think about our own family, tribe, nation, because that is a part of the old structure. And if we serve the old structure, we serve the old patterns, then we remain in that sphere. So when we talk about now, it's a big shift. It's a consciousness shift. It's a shift in how we relate to each other, what we feel even, because when we change our mindset, then we change how we feel. How we feel about nature, the responsibility you talked about, that is to take care of all and everything. That is the new responsibility. That's why we call it the caring economy.
I like that. And I really liked also what you said, that you were a rebel. because that is going against that system we are sort of brought into, that we should adhere to the rules and all these things that have disconnected us from the nature, from each other, like you said, that created that separateness. But what conscious decision did you make at some point in your life, and sort of what age were you when you said, no, I'm not going to do that, and when you started to give birth to this new renaissance? Were you 3 months or 4?
3 years. I was 3 years old. I don't know how it I realized it, but I had a dream or a vision when in a meditation or in some dialogue with some other people, and then I saw myself as 3 years, because I felt depressed, really, as a 3-year-old. I felt totally lost, and then something happened. I saw myself lying on the floor, and then something happens. Said, enough is enough. It's like the 3 years that enough is enough. And then I decided to go my own way. I didn't understand it, consciously when I saw it, in remap aftermath. But I think that has formed me in a way, because when you meet resistance, you have to choose. Either you adapt to the old, or you are going in to be a rebel. And because I think that the new Renaissance being, the new human being, is very independent, but very aware and conscious about his and her responsibility for the whole, then we need the individual, the entrepreneurial spirit. I've seen all too many people. They talk about it, they share about it, they study it. They have a lot of knowledge and competence, and that is a challenge in our world. We have more than enough power, we have more than enough money, we have more than enough of resources, but we don't use it together. We still keep all these resources within the old structure. And that's why I talk about what is the new Renaissance about. It's about equality, but on all levels, religious, cultural, traditional, genders. Let's say equality. We are all not like, but equal, that we have the same value. And then it's about the fair distribution of resources. It's not fair distribution of resources, and I don't just talk about money, but I talk about all kinds of capital in the new, economic also theories. We operate with different kinds of capital, from the emotional intelligence and capital to the spiritual, to the structural, physical, financial, and even other forms of capital. That is, for me, economy. And economy means literally householding. So it started with the family.
Yeah.
And when you look at the family and you think about the family, then it's not just about money. We have made it to money. But it's not. Economy is about how do we distribute the resources within the family in a way that really honor your unique skills and competences. And we nourish each other. And at the same time, we know our role, because we have different tasks within the family. So it's both a structure, but at the same time, we give open space for developing our own unique skills and competences.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And when you say family, it's not your physical family, for your brother or your sister, it's the family in a broader perspective, I assume, yeah?
Yeah, so, that's why I talk about this, global householding. It's the global family. Yeah. And if you go deeper into it, because this is also something I really, I go very deeply into this, because I didn't really understand what is the source. What is the source? What is the initial ignition of life and all these expressions? And at least my conclusion then is that the only thing that really binds us together, that is life. And if you look at that, it's life in itself, because we can't, discuss life in itself. We accept the life, but what we do is not to accept life. We try to categorize the expressions of life. And when we do understand that the life is the source in itself, and that is equality whatsoever. It's equality whatsoever. It's life. And then from this life, then we have a diversity of expressions, all kinds. It's limitless. The life in itself has limitless expressions, and that is fascinating. That really fascinates me,
I love it. I love it. And being a rebel also, and having this whole story, I can imagine that being a rebel, you also had some challenges in your life.
I mean, you know, just to be practical, you know, in the beginning in the 90s, you know, then I was introduced for internet. And I knew immediately, because that is one of my skills. I know that, and I trust it more and more. That is my intuition. I knew it. You can't explain it. You just know, you know, something.
Yeah.
And then I was introduced for internet, you know, and I was eager, you know. I had some colleagues, and they said, yes, yes, yes. And we started to invite people to seminars and you know, to courses and lectures. And they just, what is this new thing? You know, that this is just nonsense. You know, what relevance do this have for us? And then, okay, who can live without internet today? You know, and it has changed the whole society. And I have the same feeling now when it comes to the digital economy. Because it would change on the practical level. And I was working with this for a very, very long time. How can we combine technology and the new consciousness development? Because if we don't combine it, then the technology will be separated from what is growing. And then we will use the technology in the same way, based on the same foundation and paradigm, the same worldview. See? And so we use it to earn more and more money, or we use it to, you know, to whatsoever, to achieve success. But this is about something else. You know, it's much more about the rebellion about, really, the rebellion about these old parents. I said, okay, what now? We need to take care of each other. We need to take care of the planet. We need to reconnect with nature and let people, you know, also talk about nature. And then they run through the forest without ever stopping to sense and see what is going on. They don't see the flowers. They don't smell what is out there. They don't understand the energy that gives us, you know, refreshing and revival. So I laugh when I see that, when I walk in the forest and I see people, you know, with the headphones, and they're running with their eyes deep into the path before them, you know, and they don't sense or recognize or perceive anything of what nature truly is. Yeah. And then that kind of people, shall tell us how we should relate to nature? No.
No.
That's why, just to mention them, that is why we need also to listen to the ingenious people, because they know.
They know, exactly. And this is also, I think, this radical change we need to make. It's not just not talking about it maybe and philosophizing about it anymore. It's really putting it into practice. Yeah. And as you know as well, a lot of the indigenous people who have their indigenous science, of course, yes. And the Western science is tapping into that. But of course, all these things have been known already for a long time, that we are not independent. We are all interdependent. Yes, exactly. And also with the nature itself. So to become aware of that, and to make positive changes right now, you know, we need to become radical, I think, in a way as well.
And you know, I think that, you know, this new perspective now is to focus on the individual and the collective parallel, you know, and then to, as I said, because we have been talking about, we discussed this a lot, you know, a couple of years ago or something, about the co-creation, because that has been the buzzword. Oh, now we need to co-create. I said, how the heck can we co-create if you are not the co-creator first? Because then you just will be confirmed. You go into a collective field, a social field, where everyone tries to adapt to each other. That is not creation. That is not a radical creation. And I distinguish between existential creation and creativity, and then this inventiveness, you know, within the old framework. Of course, you know, you see, I'm impressed, you know, I love, you know, all these technological new solutions coming up and so on. I'm really fascinated, but I see also the danger. Because if we don't know how to do, if we don't take the responsibility we talked about, you know, earlier, then we will use the technology, and we see it whatsoever, that many people they use the technology without really being conscious about, because they are so fascinated about technology in itself that they don't really take the responsibility for the consequences of what they are doing. And that's where we are now, that we need to discuss and, you know, to be aware of that.
Yeah, we need the ethical questions there.
Yeah.
But we can do a lot with technology, but how ethical is it?
Yeah.
How helpful is it for all of us instead of just for a small part of this these human beings here on this planet?
Okay.
Yeah. What are your views, Knut, on, you know, a lot of people, and you and I, for example, we spoke at a conference for international entrepreneurs about certain way of leadership, but what are your views on actually the word entrepreneur? Because, you know, I heard a dear friend of mine, Lila June Johnson, once speak about entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I really like that. And it sounds to me that what you're setting up, the new Renaissance, is more in that stance than in the preneur, the taking, the prendre, but rather than giving. I feel that is more where you're coming from.
Yeah, and you know, there are many terms now. I think, you know, we touch even language now, terms and codes and metaphors and archetypes, you know.
Yeah.
And because we are in between, and not, maybe this is a sidestep to what you talk about now, but as I say, the new perspective is that we know we are in between. We are not totally in the past, and we're not totally in the future. So we need to understand the bridging. And to be an entrepreneur now, you know, that is to be a bridge. I call it shift worker. We are in the biggest shift in human history, and so we are shift workers, you know. And then you either are shift worker, and then you can be, you know, already. It's like you are an innovator as well. So you are already into your own, but you are into your own. But it is about the future, you know. And then you have most people; they are still in the past. And then you have some of us, we are here in order to guide people over the bridge.
Yeah.
So we are shift workers in the way that we guide people, or we try at least, and then you know, try what to say, disseminate this, communicate this new worldview. What practical consequences have it when we go into this worldview from the I to we, as we also talk about, you know, from this ego to eco. This is a part of the new consciousness, a new renaissance. That is that we more and more understand the constellations, the relations between in a complex society. And we discussed this some days ago with some other people as well, and I totally agree, because when I lectured at a business school home in Norway, then I realized that most people, we have developed a field of expertise. You know, we have a lot of experts, but they don't see the whole. And already then, I drew up, a line, and then you have all this deep pictures, on that, and every expert they dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's impressive, the kind of wisdom and insight and knowledge they have. But then you have the new generalist, and that has also been a term I have seen more and more. The new generalist, and that is the Renaissance being. What is a Renaissance being? That is to embrace all aspects of life, to understand that we need to take care and take into account all aspects of society into one united perspective. And that's why we don't take the right decisions on a political, governmental level either, because we don't take care. You see that social institutions in the governance, they don't collaborate even. They have all our information, and then you have to answer all these forms, every time you have to apply for something, or so. Oh, okay, it's better now. It's better now. But some years ago it was hopeless, So it has some very practical consequences. So that's why I also see the technology as this alliance. Because now you can use blockchain, we use smart contracts, we can open up, we can exchange values, material assets, immaterial assets, in a context that is not directed from the outside. We can develop small communities, and for me that is a part of the vision. That is to have small purpose-driven business communities around the world. That we establish, we invite people who are, are shift workers. They have this inner passion for developing a community, and then we come back again to what you mentioned, Artur, that it starts with the individual, but the power is now more and more in the team. It's more and more in small communities that can be role models for this new renaissance. And then people say, and then we have experiments. It's not just about disseminating in a theoretical way, because we need that too. That's why I have built up an international advisory board and network of highly competent people, high above myself and my own intelligence and competence. So that's why I have to build it, So I can have a network of people. They know technology, business, intellectual capital, spirituality, whatsoever. I want to have all these aspects together in a holistic community.
Knut, you said also there are a lot of experts, but they all look at their own expertise. I don't know if you know if you have ever read the book about the 7 blind people, man and the elephant. They all saw some part of this elephant and they thought it was something else. But when you zoom out, you see the elephant. Yeah. And a lot of people are not aware of this change, and they like to stay in their comfort zone. How can we as conscious world agents, how can other people make this shift, help people to make this shift, to bridge the gap, to get people more aware so that they start to take responsibility? Do you understand my question?
Yeah. So, okay, just a second. Just repeat the question because something happened here. So
there was something happening with you. Okay. Well, a lot of people. A lot of people are not aware of happening this, but then they want to stay. They don't like to change. They want to stay in their comfort zone.
Yeah.
But if we stay there, we will have the same results as we already have the last 20 years.
Okay. So
how can we help them? What can we do? What can you do? How can we make them more aware of this?
Yeah, first of all, we need to understand, that also Buckminster Fuller, he said, that if you really want to change something, don't change the existing. Start something alternative, and that has been what I've been following, all my life. Is it okay? And Piero Formica, our Italian professor, he operated 2 terms, and he talked about the path creators and path finders. And the path finders, they always find the right way, but it's because someone has trod it before. So to be a path creator is really to go your own way, your own individual way. And I think that is a part of the new Renaissance being of the entrepreneur, the Renaissance entrepreneur, that we are more like path creators. And when we are path creators, then people laugh at us, and this is also, very classical in theory. Said, okay, if you really want to be unique, then you will meet resistance, you will meet accusations even, because you are destroying the structure of society, you are an enemy of society and humanity, even that, and they cut your heads off,
There will be resistance.
Yeah, that is...
Yeah.
And because that is the way they try to stop us, whatsoever it is. And you see that very often. But okay, to be role models. So on the practical level, I saw that in one of my meditations, and I was told, I have my inner dialogues, and it's very clear. And there is a Knut now, for many years, you have been a lot of sole entrepreneurs, you have been alone. But that has been necessary in order to be independent, because you can't really create something new if you're not independent, and you can't be interdependent before you are independent. And now you have to gather people who are sole entrepreneurs to create teams, and that is the first step for me. And I call it conscious pairing. And this is not just, you know, both on the professional and private level as well. Because when you start to listen to who are my kindred spirits, and Simon Sinek, by the way, also talks about much of the same. It says not why or what, you know, but who. But we start with who. So when I find someone that I feel I'm attracted to in somehow, I feel the same energy, it feels like we are on the same frequency, then we start consciously to work together. I said, because then you start, and I asked the question, who would you really love to work with as a partner? Forget all the jobs and what you are into now. If you think about some people in your network, or, you know, the global perspective for that sake, who would you love to be together with? Who would you love to create something together with? Because then magic happens.
With her.
Yeah. You know, because I read a book many years ago, Tom Collins. I've never forgotten that. And that is Good to Great.
Yeah.
And Good to Great is exactly about that. You know, I said, okay, throw out the wrong people from the bus and get the right people on the bus, and then you can start to discuss strategy, plans, whatsoever, because you know you have the best team in the world. I've never forgotten that, you know. So, because this is also tough, because then we as leaders, we need to be so clear about our own vision and plans that we say that, I'm sorry, I don't see you in this context. I do understand that you really want to participate, but I don't feel that you are here now. And then they can come back later. So this is also about organizational development and team building on the highest level.
Yeah.
And then we start to be role models. Then we start to go together, and we concretely, we said, okay, I would love to work together with you, and then we find a common project.
Nice.
It's as easy as that. To say, okay, we want to create this together.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's how these things are born. You know, like in the naissance, the rebirth, but they also are born that way.
Yeah.
So there can be the path creator you become then, as you say. Yeah, wonderful.
And I see it now because, of course, I have been working with this for decades, so I see it takes time. So I regard myself, and that was also something I was told, you know, that also in one of my profiles is about that I am a long-term investor, and I really had to reflect on that, you know, because I as I say, I'm very perseverant, you know, but I'm extremely impatient at the same time. So I have sometimes struggling with my own inner, world, because I'm really conflicting. But it teaches me at the same time how to relate to extremes and polarities, and that is a part of a change, that we can live with polarities. And as I say, in a relationship, whether professionally or romantically, when we expand each other's space, then it's a healthy and sound relationship. If we narrow it and we limit the space we have together, then it's about get away. I'm very radical about that.
Okay. Shall we talk about picture?
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you're saying here, Knut, and we can so relate, because you know that's why we probably most likely are having this conversation, because we are on that same level completely with you. You know, it's that in that freedom lies your expansion, and the more you narrow it down, you know, that's not good for anything. So, thank you for that. And yeah, Arturo was saying, what tell us about that beautiful picture behind you, that gorgeous space in Italy you were mentioning.
Yeah, that's a part of my story, you know, because now. At least from the midst of my 20s, I just knew again that someday I will operate from a center in Italy. And I've always been drawn to Italy somehow. And of course, now I do understand, because I didn't see at that time the new Renaissance. That was it was not a acquainted term for me at all. But I knew. So I had been traveling to Italy, you know, several times, and I traveled all Italy to find the right place. And I've been in convents high up in the mountains, you know, and ruins, and I saw, you know, the vision unfold. And it was, of course, not because it was all too early. So I have been searching for a place in Italy, and the more I work with Global Renaissance Society, of course, I see that what we need is a global center for this new Renaissance. And for me, it's very natural then to have a place in the cradle of the first Renaissance, because I see the similarities between the first Renaissance and this new Renaissance. It was turbulent. We needed to collaborate in a new way. We needed a new consciousness. We needed a new relationship with power. You know, the church at that time, and you know, all the authorities, and you know, all authorities in power. It changes, and it's same now, and we need to think anew totally. So to have all from a think tank to retreat center for leaders who want to withdraw, I call it strategic withdrawal. Because now we need to make the right decisions. We don't do that if we are so stressed that we don't take time to reflect, to meditate, and to discuss the deepest so to say, patterns that are creating our decisions. Then we will continue in the same way. And many leaders now, they're totally exhausted. Also because I think we are, so to say, we are enemies of nature. It's like, you know, I saw now in, what company was that? It was maybe in some broker, you know, whatsoever. They work 90 hours a week.
Wow.
And they were going to say, we can't take this anymore. I said, what kind of life do we create if we want to, or if we prefer to live a life like that? So again, we need places around the world that is not just esoteric, not just eco-villages, not just for one specific, you know, issue or topic and purpose. And for me, the Renaissance being is free. Freedom is the highest value for me. That everyone is allowed to be themselves. I don't want any diet, you know, so yeah, but now we have to be vegan, so all of us, because we are in that time. No, I don't want to follow any trend at all. I want more to start from this life-free expression. And if people need something that is in opposition to other people's, you know, needs, then it's okay. So you see, to have a place where people feel at home. And again, then I come back again to the family as a whole story, and that is economy. So to come in this, and I found this place, and I was together with two women, Harriet and Marianne, and then we looked around several places, and we had 2 places. I said, wow. But we ended up with this place, and so far I will not say so much about, you know, the concrete, because we are in negotiations. And I have decided now, I really felt the time, now is the time to find the financing. Because this is also about not finding just the money, it is to collaborate with the right people, which they did in the first Renaissance. Creativity and capital went together. They embraced each other, you know. And that is what we need now as well. People, investors with long-term perspective, with a big heart, at the same time with understanding of pure business. I say this is not an idealistic project alone. As I said, alone. I see more and more that this reconnection is life and work, is life and business. You know, it's not about you know, separating leisure time and work time. We need to understand that when we choose and we find our passion and purpose, why should we have leisure time and so on? That's more to be in flow and to take care of ourselves. And that is totally different, you know, from separating those 2 spheres. Because then we say, okay, now I need rest. Now I need rest whatsoever during the day. Or now I can work for, you know, 90 hours, okay. Because I'm so totally passionate about this, you know.
Yes, we can relate to that.
Yeah. So you will never die from hard work, but it's the work you do. Do you like it or not? Is it your passion? Does it give you energy or not? And if it's draining energy, then you will get sick. And that's
exactly.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, you know, to comment on that, because I think that if the first Renaissance was first of all about a consciousness rise, you know, because they changed their mindset. And they did understand that the human beings are more in focus than just, you know, the belief in something outside themselves. you know, because then they were deprived for their own unique skills and competence, because the humbleness, it was interpreted that you should not tell the world that you are something. You know, that was a part of it. You should be loyal. You should obey the authorities. Now we see that it's almost all the other way around. So again, I think that it's about the energy level. As I say, this was a consciousness rise in the first Renaissance. So we changed, and that has affected the hundreds of years after that. Now we are about to understand the relationships from an energetic level. No, more and more, because now we talk about spiritual capital, we talk about emotional intelligence. We haven't had that. We talk about positive psychology, you know, so it's not just about pathology. All the psychology started from people who are crazy, you know, and no one did understand, you know, more healthy and sound people and how that should and could work. So all this together, and even you know, epigenetics that we know now, that we are affected not just from our genes and DNA and that is fixed. No, we are affected by the environment. So when we change the environment, then we also change our learning sphere. Yeah. So we open up for new insight and perspectives. And then we recognize the energy, you know. So more than what people say, we do understand more about, okay, what are you really talking about? You say something, but I don't feel it. It feels like you say something else. You know, we often have that instinct, intuitive feeling whatsoever, but now it's more conscious because we start to learn how to recognize and to feel that energy.
Yeah, and then it's almost beyond what you say also. It's more about the energy, because sometimes when we hear someone speak later, we can't really recall what they said, but we know how it made us feel.
Good.
And there is much more power in that, of course. So how can we know more about this, what you're working on? How can people, if they are interested, Knut, to perhaps invest?
Yeah. So you know, I realized like 3 days ago, maybe, you know, that my web was down. Oh. So and I don't understand the technical things here. So I still have, you know, to get in contact with them. So I don't have the website, right. But of course, if you, I'm not sure if you can write it down, but I'm very open, you know, for getting in contact with people. Okay. You find me on LinkedIn. Maybe that is the easiest way. You find me both on Facebook, of course, and you find me on LinkedIn, so we can start from there, because I'm really interested in dialogues with people from all over the world. So if you really want to discuss this or want to participate somehow, or are curious just, then I'm very open for a dialogue. But Facebook, LinkedIn, maybe is the easiest way until I have, you know, coming back again.
Well, we are really keen to participate in this whole project, of course, and to hold our retreats hopefully there, as we are doing our own. We're creating our conscious world agents, you know, as in people have been asking, how can I become a conscious world agent? So we're looking at that too, and we give training for that, where people can help them to raise their own level of consciousness as well. So in our program, what do you advise people to raise their level of consciousness? What have you found helpful? And if people come to you and say, you know, I'm a beginner, I don't know what you're talking about, but I really know there is something more than just this physical being that I am. There is more in me, but I want to connect more with that level. What would you advise them?
Let me then start, you know, with something else I just saw, you know, because I saw there are at least 3 types of people in this ship. The first are the majority, and they're still stuck in the old, and it's very normal. And then you have people who more or less voluntarily are forced to leave the old. They can't take it any longer, or there is a crisis or so on. So, but they're still lost in transition. They are in transition, but they're lost in that transition. They know that they have to leave, but they don't know where to go. And then you have a very, very small group who have been living for this maybe all their life, you know, and they've been meditating and contemplating, and they have chosen their own path whatsoever. So I think it is to reflect on that. Very practice. Okay, which group do I belong to? Am I still in the old? Am I willing to be in transition? Because that is very uncertain. It's very challenging. And of course, people know if they really have chosen their own path already. They are already path creators. So the practical is, again, distance. It sounds, because I've seen it every time. If people have trouble with their home environment, with their work, whatsoever, change. And with NLP also they say that you have to change focus and you have to change the environment. And for me, it has always been a part of my experience that when you have, let's say you are in a difficult relationship, then you need geographical, physical distance. You really need. And if you really want to explore the world, okay, then you need to travel. If you want to go into this new space, you need to ask yourself very concretely, do you really know what your passion and purpose is? Because when you know your passion and purpose, then it's something, this magic opens up. See, okay, yes, this is my passion, this is my purpose. And then you start to explore what the kind of advice, wisdom, education, whatsoever you need, mentoring, coaching, in order to start out on that path. The first is that you have the willingness and the courage. Rollo May said, the courage to create. It really takes, and I see that myself, because when you start on this path, then you are extremely vulnerable, because you don't know yourself either. So when people criticize you, accuse you, or whatsoever, accuse you, then you feel that I don't know what to say. Yeah. And then you start to defend yourself, and then you get angry, you get afraid. That is a part of the process. So don't be afraid of that. But my God, I have been red glowing. Because I really have had that anxiety. I know what anxiety is to walk this path. So many levels, but it's about the courage, the inner mentality. Okay, are you ready to take the step? That is the first practical. Are you ready? Are you ready to ask yourself, will I now follow my own path, or will I still follow others' paths and other people's visions or not?
Like that.
Yeah, and I can relate to that very much, Knut. A lot of people ask if they have ideas or if they want to change, how do I need to do it, or when will it be there? But it starts first with the conscious and courageous decision. Am I willing to change? Am I willing to take the first step myself without knowing where to go? So that's really what I like about your story now. That it starts with me. And then the universe will open up.
Yeah, and this is also part of the ecosystem, because when you transform yourself, you start on your own path. Then you also will meet other people. And I have a vision once, and that has really been a guiding star for me as well. I saw that it's like all over the earth. People were depressed, so it was a gray mass of people. They were pressed against the soil of the earth. It was like a mass. And then I saw, I'm not sure if it was myself, I had that feeling of depression, but at least I saw that I can't take this any longer. Whatsoever waits me, I can't take this any longer. And then I, or this man, started to rise up, and then he started to go, but he felt totally alone in the world. Totally isolated, totally lost. And then he started to walk because he couldn't, it was no alternative. And then I suddenly saw it from the bird's perspective, from the bird's eye, and I looked down, and then I saw that different people all over the world had the same feeling, the depression. And then they emerged from the soil, so to say, and then they started with the same feeling of totally isolatedness, and they feel loneliness. But they had to. And I think that is also practical. Do you really want this? It's like an artist, a teacher said, to a student, do you really want, I want to be an artist. This young person said to the artist, he said, okay, do you really want to be an artist? Or do you just want, to explore? And that is, I think, because if you don't have that inner passion, you will never be able to take the external and also inner turbulence and challenges.
That's right.
Yeah, because they will be there.
Oh, they will be there. And it's about that motivation, isn't it? What I really like is checking in with yourself. How high am I motivated? That's what we use with our coaching as well. Scaling questions from 1 to 10.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Calculated 2, being 1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. You're not very likely to make that next. But if you are 7, then you can also ask yourself, what can I do to go up 1 more on that step, on that ladder, you know, and then take the next step. So,
you know,
yeah.
As I also experience, you know, when we talk about this frequency and kindred spirits, because that's a part of the movement. The global movement is to find each other. And you don't find your kindred spirits before you start out your own conscious decision and quantumly into this new unknown. And that is an expression used now, and I use it a lot, the unknown unknowns. What we are explorers of the unknown unknowns. And if you're not willing to do that, if you want fixed answers, forget it, go home.
So true, yeah. Nice. Very nice. Did you want to have a look at the questions, if there were any questions on there?
Yeah, maybe.
Because I can't do that on my phone right now. But yeah, Knut, this has been so fascinating and really inspiring to hear you, and also how you shared your own your journey with us. And we can talk a long more, I suppose. But what we would love to do perhaps is later on in the year to have another chat with you and hear how things are moving on in Italy, so we can then you know, have some updates for our viewers as well.
Very happy with that. And you know, just to mention that, because next year we will arrange a world festival, you know, a global Renaissance world festival, because now it's time to celebrate. And we already have panelists and hosts and, you know, a format of it. So we work with a global team in order to facilitate that. So that is also part of how can we disseminate, how can we share with each other, how can we inspire each other. That is my motivation, at least, how to inspire the local.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Well, please keep us updated with those details as well, so we can share them. And we would love to join you there as well. So keep us posted. And did you see anything? Or
no, a lot of people are watching, but no questions so far.
So they're all glued to the microphone, I suppose. Well, thank you everyone who's watching, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Is there something else you feel we need to, do you want to ask us something, Knut, or do you want to say something yourself that we've maybe missed? Or
no, you know, what comes up then is just that let us be so practical that we really start to ask ourselves, how can we collaborate, how can we co-create?
Yeah.
As in the independent individuals coming together, because I really believe in that. And that is what we want to create small business communities of 6 teams, 30 persons. And I want to replicate that, you know, an interdisciplinary workshop as they had in the first Renaissance. And then we start to work together, and we have all kinds of competence. We combine our skills, and then we act as teachers, advisors, business developers, because the potential is, you know, infinite there.
Infinite.
With the right people.
Yeah, first we have to unlock that within ourselves, and then share it, I suppose. So.
And I like also the idea having hubs all over the world. You know, don't have one person who has everything under control, because then you go back to the same system as you want to escape. So have the hubs there and do your thing, follow your path, follow your heart, follow your passion, and things will come.
And just to finish that and to end it, you know, is to say that the new Renaissance and this new revival, this awakening, this bottom up, historically, that's always been the elite starting something new. But this time, it will be the ordinary men and people, yes, you know, men and women coming together, you know. So it starts, as I say, from a mass movement, and then we reach the critical mass, because together we will be a voice, and that is my vision, at least my hope, that we can create something together, that we really can be a voice that people can listen to, because we don't need, as Margaret Mead said, you know, to be so many people. A small group of people who are determined we can do whatsoever we want.
Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Well,
it was Again, a pleasure to talk with you, Knut. It's always nice, and I feel the passion every time again, and that also generates the passion again for me in this. So that's why we also want to help you in this and be also some. Well, do you call it stakeholders?
Yeah. But to be honest, I want all people to participate, to feel that they have an ownership.
Yeah,
definitely. I would love to, to give something to this whole idea and this vision, and together it would be wonderful. So it's been a real delight to talk to you. It's really been insightful. It's been inspirational, and I wish you a wonderful time where you are now in sunny Portugal. And thank you so much for coming on our live session here at Conscious World Agents.
I'm very happy to be invited, because we have had some great dialogues before as well. And,
yes, we had. Yeah.
I love the work you are doing. It's so important. It's so important.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we love it too, and we work many hours, but we play many hours too. So. And this is part of that, and like you say, it's your passion, it's your purpose. It's got so much energy. It's just wonderful. And next month we will be having our next guest speaker. That's Meg McCarthy. So you know him too. So he's also very excited. So we're creating a lovely community again. Thanks to Christian, of course, Arten, who introduced us all also, and Alexandra. So we're all doing our own part and looking forward to that as well. So we'll share this on our YouTube channel so people can watch it there, and then you can share it too for you as well to spread this message that you shared with us today. All right, Knut.
Have a great day. And I hope the water will come.
The hot water man is coming to put the gas on. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Okay, well, lovely speaking to you. Bye for now. Lots of love.
Bye for now.
Bye. And thanks everyone for watching, of course. We'll see you next week on Facebook Live.